Ladies and gentlemen, I'm warning you right now. We have a lot to talk about on tonight's Dynamite, and we could possibly be here for about an hour. I'm just warning you right now. There is just too much to talk about on this show. What a bounce back by AEW to all the people that thought Revolution was a disappointment. Revolution didn't really feel that good of a pay-per-view. I guarantee you those people were satisfied with tonight's Dynamite. Besides one hiccup, which I think everybody knows, besides one hiccup, this was a great episode of AEW Dynamite. 10 out of 10. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't even want to waste time. I'm just going to bring him in right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Wesley Williams, second week in a row, the co-host on the AEW Dynamite review. What's up, dude?
What's up, man? I'm back again, back and better than ever. Last week, we hit a home run with our review, if I do say so myself, and now let's hit another home run. We have tons, like you said, Joseph, tons and tons of news to talk about, not just AEW, but Impact as well. Big news coming out of last night's Impact show that we will be talking about right here on this review. But folks, what a show. Like Joseph said, a big bounce back from Revolution this past Sunday. We all know about the ending that happened. It was not good at all. But hey, you know what? AEW is now bounced back. We got tons of storylines, tons of matchups set up. We got St. Patrick's Day Slam next week, which we will be talking about in this review tonight. Lots to talk about, like I said. It's going to be great. Let's have a good time.
Yeah, man, let's have a good time. Sit back. You guys can listen to yours truly, Joseph Conlon and Wesley Williams on your Wednesday nights. We thank you for joining. If you haven't already, go check out the debut of the podcast. I'm just going to get this out really quickly. Go check the debut of the podcast. Go check the AEW Dynamite review from this past Sunday. And go check the Monday Night Raw review from this past Monday. All right, so we've got to get right into this because, my goodness, we have a lot to talk about tonight. We started off the action with Rey Fenix versus one half of the AEW Tag Team Champions, Matt Jackson. And if you guys tried to take notes during this match, God bless you. God bless you if you actually sat there and took notes during the fast-paced action. These guys put on a great opening match, non-stop. I mean, Matt Jackson did have a little bit of a ground game, but he hit two destroyers in a row to Phoenix, on one in the ring and one outside the ring. The second one that landed right on his head looked really brutal. Then Pac, he got involved, and Matt Jackson super kicked Pac. Then these guys were going fist to fist at it, and then Rey Fenix hit like a sort of a brain buster, I think it was, to Matt Jackson, and he got the win in a 13-minute match to open up the show. Rey Fenix defeats Matt Jackson, and I tweeted this out in my tweet. If this is a preview to the tag team title match that's going to happen whenever it happens, I'm guessing it's going to happen in the next month. Sign me up. I'm so ready for this tag team title match. This was a great match between two awesome professionals in Matt Jackson and Rey Fenix. So I thought this was a great opening match, and I'm going to hand it over to my partner here on the review, Wesley Williams. What did you think about that opening match between Phoenix and Matt Jackson?
The hottest open you could have possibly asked for, man. This was probably the one match I was most excited for. I was looking forward to this and the Darby Allin Scorpio Tnt title match, but this match right here, knowing that the match that we got back in 2019 between Nick Jackson and Rey Fenix, one of the best Dynamite matches of all time, and here we have Matt Jackson coming in against Rey Fenix, and they create magic just as much. And this was such a great open to the show. I mean, you got two of the best in the very world go at it. It would be a crime of all crimes if Rey Fenix does not win a title one day. This dude is too good not to put a title on him, whether it's a TNT title, tag team title, world title, whatever. This dude has to win a title one day, but this was just such a great back and forth match. I mean, lots of great spots. Ray Phoenix picking up the win here. Matt Jackson, he is a champion. He did lose in a non-title match, which I'm not a big fan of, but it is a singles match, so I guess I'll give it a tiny bit of a pass. But it was kind of a tough situation because you can't have Ray Phoenix lose here because he needs all the momentum in the world with Pac going into their tag title match, which I'm not sure when they will be scheduling just yet. We have that big themed show next week. I kind of figured they would go ahead and announce it for next week. Maybe that will still happen. Who knows? We'll see coming later on in the week, going into next week. But I love this match. This was awesome. One of the matches of the night, one of the biggest highlights of the show for me. And Ray Phoenix picks up the W. And, I'm super looking forward to Young Bucks versus Ray Phoenix and Pac. That's going to be an awesome matchup.
Awesome stuff to start the show. We then had a short vignette between Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley for their explanation. They said Kenny Omega, from what I got out of this, they said Kenny Omega is just a video game creator. He's not an explosion creator. He can't do that. He hasn't felt, Eddie Kingston hasn't felt this much anxiety and nervous since he was in jail and they were coming to pick him up and take him somewhere else. I'm not so sure. And then he said Impact Wrestling must have paid for that bomb from Revolution. So I thought that was kind of funny. But this kind of tied in to what happened later on in the show when Kenny, the Good Brothers, and Don Callis came out. But really quickly, what did you think about this?
I pointed this out on Twitter. Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley are money together. I really, really enjoyed this segment. I like the fact that they kind of tied up the whole thing that happened with the ending of Revolution. I don't mind the fact that they kind of turned it into a storyline. I know some people are against it, but I personally don't mind it. I mean, I feel like this is a bit of a clever way to just kind of tie up everything. We can move on from this, and, we don't have to go back and speak of this again. I know people have been making tons of jokes and memes out of it, and to be honest, I feel like it's already ran its course. It's run stale, and I'm just ready to move on. And, especially with tonight's episode, the way that it went, I'm just ready to get past all what happened at the end of Revolution. But I'm really looking forward to this pairing between Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley. Eddie Kingston, obviously, a full-fledged babyface now, and man, I'm telling you, it's going to be fun seeing him and Mox team up together. And I already can tell the chemistry is just so there between them. And so I really enjoyed this segment. I thought it was definitely a thumbs up from my end.
Yeah, I thought it was too, and it tied into what happened later on in the show. So we had a little match between Cody Rhodes. I didn't get this guy's name who he fought, but he beat him in about a minute. Crossroads. No problem. But what happened next? This was fantastic, Wesley. I loved this. So Cody got on the microphone for a little bit, and he was interrupted. Someone was speaking Spanish in the crowd. It turned out to be Penta. And you know what I like about this? I don't feel like I want to steal from someone's tweets, but I'm going to have to for this instance. If you guys saw one of JD from New York's tweets, he said that a difference between WWE promos and AEW promos with guys like Andrade is they're able to be themselves. Penta was able to be himself. He had Alex Aberrantes, I think the dude's name is, speaking English for him, while Penta was speaking Spanish, and Alex was like, if Cody says he is the Prince of Pro Wrestling, then I am the king of Lucha, the king of throne of Lucha Libre, and then we got a big Lucha Libre chant, and he was talking about Cody lost the ladder match, and so did Penta, but it could have just been them one-on-one and whatnot, but then Penta, he's speaking aggressive this time in Spanish, and it makes Cody look confused, and then Alex gets the microphone, and he says, what Penta is saying is that I'm going to hurt your arm so bad that when you have your child, you won't be able to hold her up. That was, oh my God. That made me, I'm not going to lie, that made me pop. And then we got a big brawl between Cody and Penta, and they had to be separated. I loved this, dude. This, a little bit of me is disappointed that this match is happening next week. But, dude, I could totally dig this match. Cody Rhodes versus Penta next week. Oh my God! Please have Penta go over. That's all I'm gonna say out of this.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This was a gold segment right here. I mean, this was just a thing of beauty. Everybody in their roles just played such a great part in all of this, and I like the fact that Penta had a translator with him, because obviously Spanish is his first language. So we don't really get to hear him and Phoenix speak much, but this was so perfect. And like you said, Joseph, JD tweeted it out, how the difference between AEW promos and WWE promos is that AEW allows their wrestlers to be themselves and to be authentic, and I love that. And I just love the whole back and forth. I mean, Pentagon just being arrogant, and that line that you said where he says, I'm going to hurt your arm so bad you won't be able to hold up your baby girl. And I mean, that was just absolute gold right there, man. This match next week between Cody and Pentagon is going to be absolutely phenomenal. And like you said, Joseph, I agree with you 100%. Pentagon has to go over. He has to go over. Cody can take the loss. He's Cody Rhodes. He's going to be fine. The dude's basically bulletproof. Pentagon needs this win. Now that we got Pac and Phoenix occupied with the tag titles right now, this is a great way to utilize Pentagon in a high-profile match against one of the faces, not only in AEW, one of the faces in pro wrestling. I cannot wait for this match next week at St. Patrick's Day Slam. This is going to slap, and it's going to be awesome.
I would have liked for them to build to the match a little bit more. Like, if we had a themed show in April, or heck, if they even saved it for Double or Nothing, because I feel like Cody would have came out and he would have cut an amazing promo on Penta or whatever, and it would have been a good long-term feud, but they're already blowing off the match next week. Man, you're so right. Penta needs this win. I'm going to be honest with you. If Penta wins the match next week, Penta loses the match next week, I'm going to be a little disappointed. I really am.
Me too, man. Cody doesn't need it. Cody's fine. He doesn't need the win here. Pentagon needs it way more. You want to start pushing guys like him in AEW. Pentagon is way too good to pass up. Same goes with Ray Phoenix and Pac. I mean, these three guys are three of the focal points of this company. And so these are three individuals that you should pay a lot of attention to and really push into that big high-profile situation. So.
I absolutely agree with that. So then after this, we had another segment. It was a short Sting segment. Sting came out, talked about how dangerous Darby Allin was with the street fight and his quickness and all that stuff. But then he was interrupted by, very interesting, he was interrupted by Jake the Snake Roberts and Lance Archer, where Tony Schiavone was like, well, what are you guys doing out here? Now's not your time. And Lance Archer's like, whoa, well, if it's Sting's time, we'll go to the back, and we'll just... And Jake Roberts then took the microphone and said, be a bystander. And then they just walked to the back. Sting didn't say much. So this segment was basically to set up Sting's next feud, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know what to make of this. We're going to get Sting versus Lance Archer. And like I said, it kind of relates to Cody and Penta a little bit, but if this is going to be Sting's next feud, I think Sting needs to put over Lance Archer here.
I completely agree. Very interesting. Something I definitely did not expect. I guess Lance Archer is a heel again because of this. It's kind of funny how he was. I guess he's kind of a tweener, maybe, if you think of it in a way. Maybe he's not playing on both sides. He just, like his saying goes, everybody dies. He'll just go after anybody and everybody, whether they're babyface or heel. A very interesting scenario here between Sting and Lance Archer. Somebody did bring up on Twitter, I did see this, that they could do another cinematic match with Sting here against Lance Archer, and it'd be over at Lance Archer's compound, like his neck of the woods. And they could do a cinematic match with that. We did see this past Sunday at Revolution how the street fight went so well. Probably my match of the night. For as far as the whole pay-per-view goes, with Sting and Darby Allin versus Ricky Starks and Brian Cage, absolutely phenomenal. So we can see that AEW knows how to book cinematic matches, and I think they might go down this same route here with him and Lance Archer, especially knowing Sting's age. But yeah, I agree with you, Joseph. Lance Archer has to go over. Sting beats Lance Archer here. I mean, it's not going to look good, and it's going to cause, the people in the community to complain that AEW is pushing the older talent over the younger talent. They don't want that reputation, and I don't want that for them either. And I don't see AEW booking things like that. So Lance Archer would have to go over if this is the route they're going, and it should be interesting going forward.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. We'll have to see if they have a cinematic, but that's a good point. Like them going to Lance Archer's playground, I'm not so sure. But then we had Ethan Page versus Lee Johnson, and I can't even talk about the match because we had TNT. I don't know what happened. We had TNT botching the audio. We heard commentary a little bit, but then we heard the NBA All-Star Game going on, and it's like, dude, I don't know. I don't know. If you guys want to check out the Ethan Page Lee Johnson match, Tony Khan did post it on the AEW YouTube channel. I might have to go check it out because it was Ethan Page's debut match. It was ruined. It was ruined by TNT.
Yeah, man. I don't know what happened. I thought it was just me at first. I thought I was really just hearing things. But no, everybody was having the same issue. It was apparently, I heard it was audio from the NBA All-Star Game from this past Sunday that bled into tonight's show. For whatever reason, I don't know how that happens, but I guess technology is just a weird whole situation. But, I'm trying to watch this match, and I'm trying to, analyze it the best way I can, but I really couldn't, man. Like you said, I mean, it was so hard because you're hearing "Ain't No Mountain High Enough" in the background while this is going on, and it's like I don't know what's happening anymore. But man, if there's two people I feel so sorry for, it's Ethan Page and Lee Johnson. They did not deserve this at all, especially not Ethan Page, knowing that this was his debut on Dynamite. Like, I feel so bad, but good on Tony Khan for uploading the match to YouTube. I'm sure no audio issues have ensued in that version of the match, but yeah, I might have to go out of my way to watch it as well, and may even put out a tweet about it. But hopefully, nothing like that will ever happen again. It's really just an issue on TNT's and not so much AEW. So I feel like people shouldn't give AEW so much flack for it. Give TNT the flack because that's on them. They took a big L tonight. So, but yeah, but it looks like to me they're setting up QT Marshall. They're building up a heel turn with them. Because we've seen the hint of it when Lee Johnson won his first official match in AEW. He thanked everybody in the Nightmare family outside of QT Marshall. He didn't thank him at all, even though he's the guy who trained Lee Johnson. So clearly they're building up something there. And then we saw more of that being built at the Tag Team Battle Royal this past Sunday at Revolution when QT Marshall voluntarily eliminated himself from the Tag Team Battle Royal, leaving Dustin on his own. So it's really interesting what they're building up with QT Marshall. And then after this match, I did catch that Ethan Page did beat up Lee Johnson a little more after he beat him. And QT Marshall just stood there, and Dustin Rhodes comes out. He's all confused, and he doesn't know what's happening. So I'm looking forward to see what they do with that. But it really does suck that some of this has been thwarted because of the TNT's stupid audio issues. But we move on. It happens, and hopefully nothing like that will happen again. So.
Or it's a whole audio issue. I was watching this portion of the show with my dad, and we were discussing what's going on. He's like, "Oh, it's not a big deal." I was like, "You know what I think's going on? I think, and this is my crazy mind. I thought someone had a speaker. They brought a speaker to Daly's place. No idea why, and they decided they were bored and wanted to turn on an NBA game." And it just bursted out in front of Daly's place. I don't know, man. That's what I thought about this, but it was so weird and bizarre. But
yeah,
can we just agree that let's just move on to the next segment? Because I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure, besides the ending, this is probably the most talked about point of the entire show here on the Big Fight Fuel channel. So Tony Schiavone, he's on the stage. He's getting ready to introduce Christian Cage. Then Kenny Omega's dance, like his dance partners, like his girls or whatever, I don't know. They start coming out and doing the entrance. Then Omega, Callis, and the Good Brothers, they come out. So Kenny Omega's like, "Oh, you were expecting the newest signee to come out and talk about whatever." And he's like, "When it's us, we run it around here. I'm the world champion. We run things around here." And then they were talking about how they fooled Eddie Kingston, and they even mocked it. They mocked the whole Eddie Kingston thing when Eddie Kingston came out there, which, by the way, Eddie Kingston came out of the babyface tunnel. It looks to me, Eddie Kingston's a babyface, which is pretty good. I mean, not good. I think it's great because an Eddie Kingston. We know how passionate Eddie Kingston is and how emotional he can get sometimes. I think Eddie Kingston as a babyface is going to do absolutely wonders for him. I don't know about you, but I think Eddie Kingston is going to be a bigger babyface than he is a heel. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this move, man. I mean, Eddie Kingston, he's one of the best promos in all of wrestling. I mean, this guy never cuts a bad promo ever, and we've already seen his work as a heel, and it's tremendous. And I definitely see your point of him being a bigger babyface than a heel. I could see that. I can definitely see that, especially with them being aligned with Mox and everything. But this was definitely a very interesting segment of the show. And I'm looking forward to see what they do with Eddie Kingston. I feel like we're going to get an Eddie Kingston-Kenny Omega match somewhere down the line for the AEW World title. I feel like that's something that could be bound to happen. And, the promo work from Kingston, I cannot wait to see as a babyface. I mean, the amount of passion and emotion he has in his promos is something you really don't see that much in wrestling nowadays because we've grown so accustomed to the scripted way of promos. And you just don't really feel that emotion, that real authentic emotion anymore. But with Eddie Kingston, you just feel that. He's one of those guys that just delivers with all the passion and all the emotion, all the feel in the world. And so it's just awesome to see, and I'm looking forward to see what they do here.
You know what's so weird to me? You know what's so weird? 2 months ago, we had a 3-person feud between Eddie Kingston, Pac, and Lance Archer, and they were all heels. 2 months later, Eddie Kingston's a face. Lance Archer's a face. A tweener, I guess you could say. Death Triangle of faces. It's crazy how things turn out in a 2-month swing. No one thought. Who could have predicted that Eddie Kingston was going to be a babyface? So that's what we love about AEW, the unpredictability. But moving on to the segment, they have Eddie Kingston in the ring. He doesn't speak a word on the microphone. You have Callis and Omega mocking the explosion with Callis telling Kingston if he doesn't get out of the ring in 10 seconds, they're going to beat him up or something like that. And then Callis is covering Omega, and Callis talks about how he had Eddie Kingston in Impact Wrestling, and he was a big star for them, but that he messed up one time with his shenanigans, and he was never mature enough, I think he said, and that's why he fired him. And then Eddie Kingston punches Omega in the face. He punched Omega in the face, and the Good Brothers and Omega, they go to attack Kingston. Then Mox comes out for the save. He goes after the Good Brothers. So you got Moxley and Kingston all for the Good Brothers. Then Christian Cage comes walking out from the babyface tunnel, and he just walks down to the ramp, and he stares at Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega goes to shake Christian's hand. Christian just shakes his head no. So then Kenny Omega goes for a punch, and he reverses it to try to hit the kill switch, but Don Callis pulled Omega out. Then Christian sees the World Championship, and he puts it in his hands, and he looks at the World Championship. So I thought this was a great segment. We have the story with Moxley and Kingston against the Good Brothers and Omega. And now all of a sudden, Christian is tied into all of this. Now, I'm going to get my point ahead first, because I think myself and Wesley are going to have two different opinions here. I am totally down for a Christian Cage-Kenny Omega match. At some point down the line for the World Championship. Christian proved at the Royal Rumble he still has time to go. He still has time to go, and he had he looked very impressive in the Royal Rumble match. What am I going to say? Oh. And then I think he could have a great match with Kenny Omega for the World Championship if they choose to. But my problem is is it a good idea to just thrust Christian into a world title match without speaking or having a match in AEW? Like, if you're going to do a Christian Kenny Omega match, I'm cool with that. I'm down. But you have to build him up. You have to make him earn a shot at the championship or whatnot, and not just make it feel forced. Because if you're gonna make it feel forced and just put him in the world title match without him doing anything, it's me thinking they're doing this to one up WWE because WWE has Edge in the Universal title match against Roman Reigns. That's my thought. That's my opinion. I could be totally wrong about that. But if you're going to build up a Christian Cage Omega match for the world title, you got to make me believe why Christian deserves a world title match. And maybe, I don't know, have him go through the Good Brothers in order to get a world title match. Have him go through a gauntlet match to get a world title match. So that's my theory about it. I'm going to hand it over to you to get your whole situation on the Omega Christian. What does Eddie Kingston fit into this? What does Moxley fit into this? And where do we go with this entire storyline?
I never got to give my take here on the review about Christian Cage debuting in AEW. I, for one, was not upset about it. I get that AEW really shouldn't have hyped it up as much as they did, only for it to be Christian. No offense to Christian, but I mean, he is 47 years old now, and everybody was expecting the level of a CM Punk or Brock Lesnar to show up. And people really shouldn't have set their standards that high, if I'm being honest, because, I mean, Punk, I personally think is happening somewhere down the line, but I feel like it needs to happen with a full capacity crowd. And the ideal place you want to do it is Chicago. Brock Lesnar, I never see in AEW. I just don't see Brock Lesnar fitting into AEW's whole, situation and their whole mission of what they want to do. Now, as far as Christian goes, I mentioned this on Twitter. I'm actually really intrigued and really excited to see what he does in AEW, and I'm really happy for him because he deserves one proper final run before he calls it quits. I don't think Christian, thought himself that he was going to be able to make it back to wrestling after not being in action for 7 years. Now he's back. Now, this whole situation with Kenny Omega, Christian and Kenny Omega sounds like an awesome match. Now, you said, is it a good idea to really thrust them into the world title situation? You have a great point there. And I definitely understand people, having a bit of a negative reaction to it. I definitely get your points. And they really need to make it, legitimate. They need to make it matter. Because they do have a rating system, and they need to make that matter. So when it comes to Christian, I feel like this is something we're not going to immediately get. I think this is just the beginning. This is something they're just kind of teasing. It's not like, in next week or in 2 weeks, we're going to see Christian versus Kenny Omega for the world title. I think we could see this build up into Double or Nothing in May. I have plenty of time to build up Christian and build his credibility up a little more. Going into a world title match with Kenny Omega. Here's why I'm being a bit more optimistic about it is because we all know Christian ain't winning the world title.
No.
Kenny's not dropping that title anytime soon. And if he's going to drop it, I eventually see it going to Adam Page whenever that does happen. But Kenny's holding that title for a long time, people. I mean, you're strapped in for a big ride with Kenny Omega here. And he's not just going to be holding the AEW world title. We're going to get into more of that later on here in this review. But, Kenny Omega is going to be protected here, and I think this is something that will build up over time. As far as Moxley and Kingston go, I see them definitely feuding with the Good Brothers. I mean, they're going to be fighting the Good Brothers next week, right? At St. Patrick's Day Slam, it's going to be them two versus the Good Brothers, which should be a great tag team match. So they're going to have Moxley and Kingston are already going to be occupied in that department. So when it comes to Christian, I mean, I'd say I'm all in for this. I'm strapped in, and I think. Like I said, this is just a small teaser, the just beginning stages. I think this is something they're going to build up over time. Because they really should throw Christian in there and going for the world title without him having a single match in AEW. That's just unfair. And it's definitely unfair to the rest of the talent on the roster who are earning their wins on Dark or on Dynamite and the men and women in the top 5. I mean, it would be unfair for any talent to bypassed by Christian Cage, who hasn't had a single match in AEW. So that's my theory on it. But I definitely get your points, Joseph, and I definitely agree with you. I mean, it's not something they really should just dive right into, like just have immediately. They need to build this up over time, have Christian build up credibility for himself, and but yeah, we'll see where this goes. But I'd say I'm definitely in for a Kenny Omega Christian Cage match, and I would love to see the promos back and forth between them two as well.
More times than none, we have learned that we can trust Tony Khan when it comes to long-term storytelling and long-term booking. This instance, I am going to put my trust into Tony Khan, but I'm just asking, like, Christian needs to have a match or two before he gets the world title match. And I think if he does get the world title match, it needs to be at Double or Nothing against Kenny Omega. That's a good main event. Christian Cage, 47 years, he comes back. This big signing for AEW, and he's gonna face Kenny Omega. That's a big match for Double or Nothing. Now, we need to talk about something that happened last night on Impact Wrestling. I barely talk about Impact Wrestling on here unless it's a big deal. I think this is a pretty big deal. So last night, to end Impact Wrestling, we got word from the GM Scott D'Amore that it would be Rich Swan versus Moose for the Impact World Title and the TNA World Championship at Sacrifice this Saturday. It's not a pay-per-view. It's on Impact Plus. So if you want to watch the show, you're going to have to order it on Impact Plus. But that's not the only announcement Scott had. He said the winner of this unification match will go on to the main event of Rebellion and face the AEW World Champion, Kenny Omega, where it's going to be title for title, winner take all at Rebellion. Wow. Like, I don't know what to say, but I think we all know where this is going. Kenny Omega has been calling himself the belt collector for months now. He is the world champion, and not a lot of people know this, but he is still the AAA World Champion over at the AAA brand. I think Kenny Omega, Wesley, is getting himself a new toy on April 24th. I don't know about you, but he's getting himself a new toy.
Yeah, I think so too, man. The cleaner is coming to collect. That is his whole mission. It seems like people are starting to forget a little bit that, Kenny Omega's calling himself the belt collector for a reason. He's already got the AEW World title. He's got the AAA title. Now he's going after the Impact World title. And honestly, man, I agree with you. I think he's taking that belt from either Rich Swann or Moose, whoever wins at the next pay-per-view. It could go either way. I mean, I would love to see Rich Swann versus Kenny Omega. I'd love to see Moose versus Kenny Omega. I'm not really sure who to really go with wholeheartedly right now. But either way, man, we're in for a treat. And this is definitely huge news. Going into the Impact AEW partnership here. And Kenny Omega, man, he's taking over the wrestling world right now. And this is just the start of him. He's got, like I said, AEW World title, AAA title, now the Impact World title. I mean, there's just more to come, man. This isn't the end. And I love it, man. If anybody's going to do this type of storyline, it's going to be Kenny Omega, man. I definitely, he's like the perfect person for this type of storyline, this type of situation. And this is definitely huge news. Not only for AEW, but for Impact as well. I mean, this has got more people talking about Impact, more people tuning into Impact, which I'm sure makes everybody in management over there very happy over in Nashville. So, yeah, it's definitely very interesting. I'm very excited for it. I might just have to go out of my way to buy the Rebellion pay-per-view just off that main event alone. I might have to, because I usually don't tune into Impact every Tuesday. I don't tune into any other pay-per-views, but I might just have to buy Rebellion just to see if Kenny will collect another belt and add more to his resume.
Yeah, and here's what I was thinking as well. After Impact went off the air a little bit this morning, not more last night, but this morning, I was like, Kenny Omega takes that belt at Rebellion. This will start the official crossover between Impact and AEW. You can have Impact superstars coming to Dynamite, trying to take that title off of Kenny Omega on a weekly basis. Like, I don't know, we see a Chris Bay come to AEW, and he's like, dude, You don't even work for Impact and you're the world champion. I'm gonna take that title off of you. Dude, I would love that. That's what I want to see. I want to see Impact stars come to AEW and try to take that title off of Omega. That's what needs to happen here.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. This is just the beginning of all the crossover here, and you got New Japan involved too. We got Kenta show up in the main event not too long ago, and that blockbuster main event with him and Moxley him and Kenta and Omega versus Lance Archer and Jon Moxley, which was just a fantastic main event there. So we're already seeing this crossover take its first steps, as if you will. And I'm almost all in, man. I mean, AEW is just making the rounds. Tony Khan is making all these deals happen, and it's just awesome to see, man. I love that we're a part of this journey with them.
Really quickly, we had a 6-woman tag between Thunder Rosa, Hikaru Shida, Ryu Mizunami against Britt Baker, Nyla Rose, and Maki Ito. This really didn't match. It was okay. I didn't really care too much about it, but what it did set up was it set up a lights out, anything goes match next week between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. And ladies and gentlemen, that's main eventing Dynamite next week. I could not be any happier about that, man. I really couldn't be any happier about that. But we're going to get to it later when we talk about the St. Patrick's Day Slam card. Really quickly, what did you think about the 6-woman tag?
Well, I didn't actually pay that much attention to it. I actually did have a phone call in the middle of this match, so I didn't really pay that much attention. But I did put on Twitter, I know I'm in the minority thinking this. I know a lot of people are high on Maki Ito, but I don't really get the appeal so much of the character. Maybe because I'm just not too much into the Joshi wrestling. But I know a lot of people really like her. I know she's getting a lot of positive feedback, but I personally can't really invest that much into her. I mean, maybe over time it will change, but for right now, I just feel like the gimmick's a little much. I thought I saw this happen. Maki Ito hitting Hikaru Shida in the head, and not even just the lightest way possible. That looked ridiculous. That looked absolutely ridiculous. I was like, I'm guessing it is part of her gimmick, but it's like Hikaru Shida should not be selling that. That there is no way possible. Like, this is what non-wrestling fans will look at, when it comes to wrestling and make fun of us for it because oh, you actually watch it. It's like, no, there's way better stuff. I mean, us wrestling fans a lot of us can agree that's just dumb. I mean, even if it is comedy, Hikaru Shida shouldn't be selling light taps on the head from a microphone. That just looks kind of foolish to me. But
it's ridiculous.
But Thunder Rosa did pick up the win for her team, and we'll talk about more in just a little bit here. It set up that big main event we got set up next week for St. Patrick's Slam, and I can't wait, man.
Ridiculous. Jim Cornette's going to be all over that, who, by the way, I found out.
Oh, my gosh.
I found out earlier in the week Jim Cornette blocked me on Twitter. I could care less, so.
Yeah, honestly, he who knows, he probably has me blocked. I never mentioned the dude ever, but he probably has me blocked.
Yeah, Jim Cornette blocked me on Twitter, so. TNT Championship Match. Scorpio Sky. Was he able to capitalize after becoming the face of the Revolution? Well, he went up against Darby Allin. They had a great match. I thought this was going to main event the show. I had this as my thumbnail ready to go, but after I might still keep it as my thumbnail, screw it. But Scorpio Sky, Darby Allin, TNT title. They had a great back and forth match. Scorpio, I love this part of the match where Darby Allin went for the coffin drop and Scorpio Sky countered it into a beautiful powerbomb. I loved that maneuver. Jim Ross was that was one of his favorite counters of all time on commentary. No cap. He said that on commentary tonight. But at the end, Scorpio Sky went for the TKO. Darby hit a roll-up on Sky, and Darby retained the TNT Championship against Scorpio Sky. Great match. Honestly, this was probably my favorite match of the night, if you ask me. Better than the Ray Phoenix Matt Jackson match. If you guys didn't check this match out, I would absolutely go check this out for the 13 minutes it was, with Darby Allin retaining the TNT title. But After the match, Darby tries to acknowledge Scorpio Sky. Darby walks away. Scorpio Sky ankle picks Darby Allin. He puts him in a heel hook. Referees are trying to get him off. Scorpio Sky. It's a long time coming, and it's the best thing for Sky. Scorpio Sky has turned heel on Darby Allin. He walked out of the heel tunnel. This is the best thing for Scorpio Sky. Honestly, he lost his TNT title match tonight, but man, I would have no problem if you built this guy up to a point where he is the number one contender for the TNT title. And this could be either on the road to Double or Nothing or even at Double or Nothing. If you want to revisit this match, this time have it be a Scorpio Sky heel against Darby Allin with an actual story going into the match, and you have Sky win the TNT Championship, dude, I have no problem with that whatsoever. But I loved everything about this. Honestly, this was probably one of my favorite things on the entire night, outside of the Omega segment and the ending and the Penta segment with Cody. This was my favorite thing of the night. What'd you think about it?
Yeah, this was an awesome TNT Championship match. I figured it would be. I mean, Darby Allin and Scorpio Sky are masters of their craft. The spots in this match were fantastic. Like you had mentioned, that power bomb that was countered. There was a coffin drop countered by a power bomb by Scorpio Sky. That was fantastic. I loved the spot where Darby Allin went for a suicide dive and Scorpio Sky countered into a cutter.
Oh, I saw that too.
That was beautiful.
That was beautiful.
They executed that perfectly. Oh man, this was a fantastic TNT title match. I knew Darby wasn't going to lose this match going into it because it would be too soon. Darby hasn't had enough solid defenses under his belt to really solidify his reign yet, and I feel like he deserves a longer reign. But I really enjoyed the heel turn by Scorpio Sky after the match. This is the best move for his singles run, and it definitely adds more intrigue to his character. This definitely isn't over between him and Darby Allin. I definitely see a second match, maybe even a third match, who knows, between these two guys, possibly leading into Double or Nothing in May. We'll see what happens, man, but this was a great match, one of my highlights of the night for sure, and Darby Allin is still your TNT champion.
Now, they could make this a storyline out of, Scorpio Sky. He is obsessed with the TNT Championship, and he's not going to go away until he beats Darby Allin. And on that road, he needs to turn into a different character and a different person. I don't know if you watch SmackDown on a weekly basis, but this is kind of the same thing that Apollo Crews is going through with Big E. Apollo Crews lost, I think, 2 Intercontinental title matches to Big E, and he wouldn't go away. He wouldn't stop going after Big E. So what happened was he made into a character change, and he's this new Nigerian powerhouse, and now he's under a new character, a new attitude, and now he is likely, I think, going to beat Big E for the Intercontinental Championship. If they want it, I'm not saying you're going to copy the same exact story, but if you wanted something similar to this, I'm good with that. But I think this is not over between Sky and Darby Allin. This is actually Darby's new feud, I think.
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean. I don't watch the main roster at all, on my own time, but I do hear the rounds on social media. I do know about Apollo Crews' character change on SmackDown. I've seen clips of it. It's fantastic. What they're doing with Apollo Crews now is what they really should have always done with him in his entire run with WWE. But yeah, I definitely see the comparisons there. Now, definitely, you don't want to, copy that, word for word or whatever with the Big E Apollo Crews storyline. But I definitely see what you mean with that. But yeah, Scorpio Sky, that's probably what they could be doing is making it to where he's so obsessed with the TNT title, they'll do anything it takes to get that title off of Darby Allin's waist and onto his.
Absolutely. So, next week, St. Patrick's Day Slam. I can't wait for this show, man. Holy shit, this is going to be a stacked show. Like, seriously. We got Cody and Penta. We have Jade Cargill in action. We have Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus the Good Brothers. We have a 10-man tag between Matt Hardy and Private Party teaming up with the Butcher and the Blade, which I guess they are now away from Eddie Kingston with no explanation. Don't know why, but whatever. But they're going up against Jurassic Express and Bear Country. That should be a good match. The Lights Out match, which is the women main eventing, Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. I'm so happy for them. They've had an excellent feud so far. They deserve this. This is going to be their moment, and they're going to put it all on the line, I think. What do you think about this match being the main event next week?
Oh, I'm all for it. I couldn't have thought of two better women to main event Dynamite than Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa is my girl. I've made that clear on social media. Thunder Rosa is my girl. She's my number one in women's wrestling, and Britt Baker is great in her own right as well. She's gotten a lot better since we first initially saw her in AEW. I love the fact that this is the first women's main event in AEW. I love the fact that they're doing it this next week, and the fact that it's a lights out match. This is going to be a crazy match, man. We're going to be in for a big treat between these two women, and I'm not sure who's walking out the victor just yet, but this is going to be awesome, man. I'm just so happy for the women in general because they deserve this. I mean, this is something that a lot of people, in the AEW fan base have wanted for so long now, is for the women to be in a high-profile situation. Here we are now, man. Next week, we got Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, Lights Out match. I cannot wait. And then the rest of the card is looking just as fantastic. Like you mentioned, Cody versus Pentagon. We got the Good Brothers versus Moxley and Kingston. Jade Cargill's going to be in action. Who knows what else they're going to announce for next week, man. Next week is a loaded show. I mean, we're just getting it back from a paper this past Sunday. AEW just keeps it coming, man. Keeps loading up these cards every single week, and that's what makes these shows so much must-see.
Absolutely. So we got a lot to break down next week, and then the last thing on the show was the Inner Circle War Council, where Jericho. I know, where Jericho got on the microphone. And he was like, it's time for a change. When an army needs to change in the middle of war, they do that. And then MJF cuts him off. It's like, I'm sorry to interrupt you. As much as I love and respect you, I don't think we need a new member of the Inner Circle. In fact, I think we need to eliminate a new member of the Inner Circle. So then Sammy Guevara's music hits. He comes out of the babyface tunnel. And Jericho's like, oh, look, it's the guy that I never wanted to bring up. Look who it is. And then Sammy Guevara is trying to get Chris's attention, and he got Chris's attention. He's like, I need you to see this. I need you to see this. So Sammy Guevara, he puts his phone down. His phone is filming. The Inner Circle members, MJF, Santana and Ortiz, Jake Hager, they get in the locker room. They're like, all right, guys, tonight's the night. Tonight is the night. We cut the head off the snake, and we move away from Chris Jericho. I think it's time for new leadership. And they look to be in. And then MJF is like, boys, get him. And then they deny MJF, and they go on the side of Chris Jericho. And it seems like the Inner Circle is going to beat MJF up 5-on-1. But he says, MJF was like, he was hiding in the corner from Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz, Guevara, and Hager. He's like, I wasn't trying to take over your group. In fact, I was just building up my own. And then the lights go on, and they go back on, and we see FTR, Shawn Spears, Wardlow, and Tully Blanchard right behind them. And I'm like, holy shit. They have the new four horsemen with these guys. They kick the shit out of the Inner Circle. Sammy Guevara gets drilled into a chair by Shawn Spears. Santana and Ortiz get brain busted by Tully Blanchard and FTR. Wardlow hits a bottle over Jake Hager's head. Then these guys take Jericho's bat. They hit him in the head with it. They hit the diamond ring. And then Wardlow takes Jericho, and he powerbombs Jericho through 2 tables. And my God, you talk about a swing of 2 shows. Sunday night might have been one of the worst finishes to a pay-per-view I've ever seen. Tonight, was one of the best finishes to a Dynamite I have ever seen. That finish was unpredictable. Who would have thought that, man? Who would have thought that?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I mentioned this on Twitter, too. Like, the one thing I've always loved about this storyline ever since it first started was the unpredictability. I love me some unpredictability, man. And this is something I definitely did not see coming. In fact, I thought tonight we were going to see Chris Jericho solely get kicked out of the Inner Circle, and MJF was going to lead the whole Inner Circle by himself. But that's not what we got. No, we got something much better. We got the Inner Circle feuding with the new Four Horsemen, MJF, Wardlow, Tully Blanchard, and Shawn Spears. I mean...
FTR.
And FTR. Oh, yeah, can't forget about my boys FTR. Can't forget. my apologies. But, man, it's just... this was probably the best finish all year up to this point to a Dynamite. It's amazing, man. Like you mentioned, a tale of two worlds. You know, we had one of the worst finishes on Sunday. We have one of the best finishes tonight. I'm super looking forward to this, and I'm going to go ahead and go out on the limb and say this, man. You know how we didn't get blood and guts last March? I think we might be getting it. I think we're heading towards it, and if it's going to happen, it's going to be the Inner Circle versus the new Four Horsemen. That's what I see happening, and I think we see that at Double or Nothing. Either that or we get a Stadium Stampede, but I more so see blood and guts. Because we still have yet to get that match, and I know we all wanted it last year, and I hate the fact that COVID and this pandemic took it all away from us. But now we might finally be getting it again, and what better way to do it than these two factions?
Wait, hold on. Are we going to get blood and guts on the football stadium? Because I don't think they're going to fit 2 rings in Daly's place. But you know what? I could be wrong, because you got all of that room in the background. So...
yeah, I don't know. Hey, look, I trust AEW to do something right with that, you know. I mean, I'm sure they'll figure it out. But, I mean, I think this is the situation that calls for it the most. Because this is just fantastic. I mean, MJF, I mean, he had us all swerving, man. MJF, a mastermind. Wow. I mean, look at him being the mastermind of this whole operation. I love it, man. This was fantastic. I cannot wait to see this feud between the Inner Circle and the new Four Horsemen. I mean, it's just a thing of beauty, man. I give this nothing but praise.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. This was a great Dynamite episode. That was a big bounce back from Sunday's Revolution. And that is your AEW Dynamite review here tonight on the channel. I want to thank you guys for watching the review tonight. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We have a couple new subscribers on the channel. We have 365. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and I hope you enjoy my content. Comment down below your favorite thing on tonight's Dynamite show and what you thought about tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. Hit that like button if you like what myself and Wesley Williams had to say on the review. Follow me on Twitter, @Colin_Joseph. Man, where can they follow you on Twitter?
You can follow me at big_West18. That's lowercase BIG_WES18. You already know. Follow me. Follow my boy Joseph. You're getting the best AEW Dynamite coverage every single week here in the IWC from the best tag team in the IWC. So you know where to find us. And we'll keep you updated every single week on the happenings of AEW. Man, I cannot wait to talk St. Patrick's Slam next week. I wish we could go ahead and get to next week because I'm so excited, man. I love me some AEW.
Absolutely, man. I'll be back here tomorrow on the channel with Cameron Johnson to talk about NXT, which I heard they had some couple creative hiccups. It's gonna be a good show tomorrow. Make sure you guys tune in, and we will be back with you next week for St. Patrick's Day Slam. So have a good night, stay safe, and as always, stay classy.